He never wore the captain's armband. He didn't lift the trophies. And you probably never heard him speak in a press conference. But without Michael Edwards, there's no Salah, no Van Dijk, no Firmino, no Premier League title. This is the story of the quiet man who rebuilt Liverpool from a historic giant to a modern powerhouse without ever stepping onto the pitch. At the turn of the 21st century, Liverpool were still a legendary name in football, but more in memory than in modern reality. They had passionate fans, a rich legacy, and a magical night in Istanbul in 2005. But in the Premier League era, they were slowly fading from the top. While Manchester United dominated, Chelsea and Manchester City were being fueled by wealth and strategy. Liverpool, on the other hand, were stumbling. The recruitment was inconsistent, the managerial appointments unstable, and the club's long-term direction unclear. There were glimpses of what could be. The 2008-09 season under Rafa Benitez, when Liverpool pushed United close, the magic of Fernando Torres, the brilliance of Steven Gerrard, but it never lasted. Liverpool would sell big, spend poorly, and repeat the cycle. By 2013-14, Brendan Rodgers' side reignited some hope. Suarez scored 31 league goals. Sturridge and Sterling flourished. They played high-octane football and came within inches of winning the league. But when Suarez left for Barcelona for £75 million, the rebuild fell apart. In came Mario Balotelli, £16 million, Ricky Lambert for £1 million, and Lazar Markovic, £20 million. None of them remotely capable of filling Suarez's shoes. The team fell apart. The identity was lost again. Liverpool had money, but no philosophy. Big players didn't want to come. Young players didn't develop. Managers didn't last. Something had to change. The real transformation of Liverpool didn't start with a big signing or a dramatic match. It started quietly in the background with one man who barely made headlines, Michael Edwards. In 2011, Edwards joined Liverpool as the head of performance and analysis, a role that at the time didn't turn many heads. He had previous experience at Portsmouth and Tottenham, but this was different. Liverpool wasn't just a club in transition. They were a club without a clear identity in the modern era. The owners, Fenway Sports Group, FSG, had already shown interest in using analytics. Through their ownership of the Boston Red Sox in baseball, they wanted a data-driven football operation, and Edwards was their man. But football wasn't ready. Edwards believed in numbers, structure, and long-term patterns. He built models to assess players, not just based on how many goals they scored, but how they moved without the ball, how they pressed, how often they got injured, how quickly they recovered, and how psychologically consistent they were under pressure. This wasn't how English football traditionally worked. Scouts trusted their instincts. Managers trusted what they saw with their eyes. Edwards, meanwhile, trusted trends, efficiency, and fit. At first, it was met with resistance. Some insiders at the club dismissed it as football manager stuff. Media outlets weren't paying attention. But slowly, his influence grew. Behind the scenes, his data and insights started shaping how Liverpool approached recruitment. Then came a series of internal restructures. Damian Kamali, Brendan Rodgers, and others came and went. But Edwards stayed. His voice got louder. And by November 2016, he was promoted to sporting director, a seismic shift in Liverpool's football hierarchy. For the first time in Premier League history, someone with a background in data and performance analysis had full control over transfers, scouting, and football operations. But he still needed one final piece to make the plan work. A manager who understood the value of system-based thinking. Someone who could build a cohesive squad, not just sign stars. He found that in Jurgen Klopp, who had just left Borussia Dortmund and shared many of the same ideas. High pressing, undervalued talent, culture-first football. It wasn't just a good fit. It was the beginning of one of the most effective partnerships modern football had ever seen. Klopp arrived in October 2015, but the Klopp-Edwards partnership truly clicked once the recruitment was fully aligned. The plan was clear. Build a system, not a star-studded lineup. Edwards wasn't interested in expensive flair players. He wanted athletes who could run, press, and adapt, and he wasn't afraid of unpopular decisions. His first big move came in 2016, Sadio Mane for £34 million from Southampton. Many were skeptical. Mane had been inconsistent at Southampton, but he had pace, aggression, and pressing intelligence. He fit perfectly. Then came Mohamed Salah in 2017 for £36.5 million, a former Chelsea reject. But Edwards saw beyond that. He saw elite movement, a high expected goals rate, and room for growth. Andy Robertson arrived that same summer for just £8 million from relegated Hull City. Georginio Wijnaldum had been relegated with Newcastle, but Liverpool paid £25 million because Edwards knew he could evolve into a key midfielder. These weren't glamorous signings, but every single one hit the mark. The front three of Mane, Firmino, Salah, all signed for under £100 million combined, became the most feared in Europe. Fast, fluid, relentless. But Edwards knew Liverpool wouldn't become champions without fixing the defense. Then, in 2018, Barcelona came again, this time for Philippe Coutinho. The offer? Over £142 million. Unlike the Suarez deal, Liverpool were ready. They sold, and they reinvested smartly. Virgil van Dijk came in from Southampton for £75 million, a world record fee for a defender at the time. Critics called it excessive, but within months, Van Dijk transformed Liverpool's backline. Soon after, Alisson Becker joined from Roma for £65 million. Another record, this time for a goalkeeper. Add in Fabinho, £39 million. Shaqiri, £13 million. And Naby Keita, £52 million. Within 1 year, Liverpool's spine had gone from shaky to elite. And they didn't just spend, they spent right. The defining moment of Michael Edwards' tenure wasn't just about trophies. It was about validation. Years of strategy, precision, and patience, all crystallized during the 2018-19 and 2019-20 seasons. In 2019, Liverpool returned to the Champions League final. But this time, it wasn't chaos. It wasn't a miracle. It was dominance. A 2-0 win over Tottenham that felt inevitable. They didn't just win a trophy. They announced themselves as Europe's most complete footballing side. No flukes. No lucky bounces. Just cold, controlled excellence. And when you looked at that starting 11, it was unmistakably Edwards' work. Mohamed Salah, once seen as a Chelsea reject, transformed into a world-class finisher after a £36.5 million move from Roma. Sadio Mane, £34 million from Southampton, delivered explosive pace and big-game brilliance. Roberto Firmino, a technical outlier, had become the glue, redefining what it meant to be a striker in Klopp's system. And behind him stood Virgil van Dijk, signed for £75 million, a fee many laughed at. Now the undisputed best offender in the world. Alisson Becker, the calm in the storm. £66.8 million well spent. But the real magic wasn't the price tags. It was in the cohesion. Every player fit the system. Every transfer had purpose. No passengers. No misfits. Just clarity. And when the Premier League campaign began, Liverpool hit another level. They didn't just win it. They crushed it. 99 points. 18 points ahead of Manchester City. Only 3 matches lost. Only 33 goals conceded across the entire season. From fullbacks to forwards, everyone moved like parts of a well-oiled machine. The press, the transitions, the rotations, it all made sense. And it all pointed back to Edwards, the architect in the shadows. What separated Liverpool wasn't money. They didn't have oil money or a Real Madrid brand. What they had was intelligence and a sporting director who understood how to build not just a team, but a culture. Edwards didn't chase headlines. He didn't crave credit. But this was his legacy, etched in medals, in records, in a squad that fit together like clockwork. In the age of chaos and quick fixes, Michael Edwards built something timeless. Even after reaching the top, Edwards kept pushing forward. He signed Diogo Jota for £45 million from Wolves, a player known for work rate and movement, not hype. He fit in instantly. He brought in Thiago Alcantara from Bayern on a free transfer, adding control and calm to the midfield. Luis Diaz, £37 million, followed in January 2022. Another high-intensity winger with upside, Every signing made sense. No panic buys. No flops that disrupted the dressing room. But in November 2021, Edwards announced he would leave the club at the end of the 2021-22 season. After more than a decade of building, he needed a break. He stepped down quietly, with Liverpool fans, players, and staff offering deep respect. But Liverpool's transfer sharpness declined noticeably after his departure. Then, in March 2024, Liverpool stunned the football world again. Edwards was back, this time not as sporting director, but as CEO of football operations. His responsibility now spanned across all football strategy, recruitment, youth development, data, and long-term planning. It was more than a job. It was a statement, a return to what made Liverpool great. Michael Edwards never chased headlines, but he built one of the greatest modern football teams from the shadows. He turned £8 million signings into legends. He turned player sales into new eras. He made Liverpool smarter, stronger, and sustainable. Michael Edwards didn't play the game, but he changed it.